Prezado Senor, Prezado Senora, hola. My name is Guy Parker. I'm the Chief Executive of the Advertising Standards Authority, the UK's advertising self-regulatory body. And I'm also honoured to be the President of ICAS, which is the International Council for Ad Self-Regulation. And I'm really honoured to have this opportunity to talk to you today at the swearing-in ceremony of elected President Sergio Pompilio and the directors of CONAR Brazil. I'd like to talk to you very briefly about the importance of ad self-regulation, about CONAR Brazil's importance as a leading ad self-regulatory body in South America, your importance to ICAS, and of course, your crucial work regulating advertising. But first of all, why is ad self-regulation important? Well, for decades, brands worldwide have been investing in ad self-regulation to help ensure responsible advertising. And that's been the case since 1980 in Brazil, which I think makes you the second oldest ad self-regulatory body in South America. Congratulations. Ad self-regulation helps to build consumer trust in ads. It helps to maintain a level playing field for responsible businesses. And it's not just about brands. Agencies, other intermediaries, media, and now, of course, online platforms also benefit and have supported ad self-regulation, many since the very beginning. I'm a huge believer in the benefit of industry support for and buy-in to the ad self-regulatory bodies that oversee the many and varied businesses that depend on trust in advertising. That industry support is, of course, coupled with robust and genuinely independent decision-making by ad self-regulatory bodies, independent of government and independent of the industry that pays for them. And that balance between buy-in and independence is what delivers faster, more flexible, and more proportionate regulation. The industry has a say, yes, but protecting consumers, protecting citizens sits at the heart of our systems. Businesses benefit from robust advertising standards and more often than not from expert training and advice. Consumers and citizens benefit from the independent enforcement of those standards far faster than would be the case through the courts, and free. The success of ad self-regulation and the way it complements and enhances the law has convinced many governments to recognize it as an essential part of the consumer protection toolkit. And not just national governments, but supranational organizations too, like APEC, like the EU and the OECD. ICAS is a relatively new body, but we already have 32 members worldwide, with ad self-regulatory bodies covering 41 markets, including many of the biggest in the world, almost all of Europe, the US, Canada, Mexico, 5 Central and South American countries, the UAE, India, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines, Australia, and New Zealand, plus industry bodies like the World Federation of Advertisers, the International Advertising Association, the European Publishers Council, and the World Out of Home Organization. Look, industry support doesn't come for free. Ad self-regulatory bodies cost money to run, and they sometimes make decisions that individual businesses don't like. But a principle isn't a principle unless it costs you. And the principle of ad self-regulation is definitely one that's worth investing in. It's an example of enlightened self-interest, and it's endured for decades. Although ad self-regulatory bodies work alongside the law, complementing rather than competing with it, there would be real-world consequences to our societies losing them. Give up ad self-regulation, and industry risks ushering in more prescriptive, more expensive, slower, and less agile statutory regulation. And that's not to mention the impact on consumers and citizens, who would likely lose their access to fast and free complaint redress. And the impact on statutory regulators too, who'd likely have to step in at cost to the taxpayer or leave a big regulatory gap. CONAR Brazil is, of course, a key member of ICAS, and you're an extremely active one, through Edney, through Juliana, through Newman. You play a key role in our governance. Newman is a really valuable contributor on our executive committee. You've been active in ICAS's focus on creating a sustainable partnership between platforms and ad self-regulatory bodies. inviting platforms to publicly commit to ad self-regulation, encouraging them to join ad self-regulatory bodies, and encouraging them to collaborate to help enforce standards, including through technology like artificial intelligence. The support you've given at the global level, of course, complements the excellent work on online advertising that you've done nationally through your digital working group, your 2020 influencer marketing guidelines, and so on. And last but not least, you've been extremely active on perhaps the most important brief of all, green claims and sustainability. I say this the day after the UK experienced its hottest day in recorded history, 40.3 degrees, though that figure might be revised upwards in the coming days. And because of the wildfires, we also experienced yesterday the busiest day for our fire service since the Second World War. CONAR Brazil's contribution to ICAS has been at the forefront on this all-important brief, with Juliana giving us fantastic insights into the ads and issues that matter most in Brazil, and helping us to begin to answer the challenging question of what more advertising and ad self-regulation needs to do to tackle misleading green claims and ads that promote or encourage unsustainable behaviours. Of course, advertising has a huge contribution to make by promoting and encouraging sustainable behaviours. But as an ad regulator, I hope you'll forgive me if I sometimes focus on persuading the industry away from the irresponsible. This issue of climate change is a huge priority for the ASA in the UK. It's a huge priority for ICAS, which has focused this year on co-producing the World Federation of Advertising's Global Green Claims Guidance, which incorporates vital ad regulatory body case studies from around the world and is a global first. And I know too that it's a huge priority for CONAR Brazil. So a quick recap of my main messages: ad self-regulation through advertising self-regulatory bodies is good for consumers and citizens, it's good for responsible businesses, it's good for society. But it's a privilege, it's not a right, and it requires continued investment by the industry, including online platforms and networks. Secondly, ICAS is your global platform for promoting responsible ads through the effective implementation of self-regulatory standards. And two of our areas of focus are building partnerships with online platforms and tackling misleading green claims and ads that promote unsustainable behaviours. And thirdly and finally, we hugely value CONAR Brazil's and the wider Brazilian industry's contribution to making sure that ads are responsible, making sure they are legal, decent, honest, and truthful. So thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you a successful swearing-in ceremony. Adeus.